A man lies motionless on the tiled floor of a small London shop. Blood pools beneath him, its deep red seeping toward the open doorway. Outside, fog rolls through the narrow street. Inside, silence, except for a ticking clock on the wall. No signs of struggle, no weapon in sight, and no witnesses. It looked like a simple killing, but this murder would change everything. Because buried in the details of this crime scene, hidden in plain view, was something that hadn't been used before in any investigation. Something invisible. Something that would force every justice system in the world to evolve. A single, deadly clue, found not by accident, but by science. Timeline. The year was 1908, before DNA, before criminal profiling, before almost every modern forensic technique we know today. Crimes were often solved through confession, luck, or eyewitnesses. Law enforcement had no easy way to identify a killer unless they were caught in the act, or talked. But that was about to change. The victim was Thomas Farrow, a 71-year-old shopkeeper in South London. On the morning of March 27th, he was found dead shortly after opening his store. His head was brutally struck with a blunt object. The cash box had been looted. A simple robbery, or so it seemed. Detective Inspector Charles Collins arrived first. He was methodical, curious, and deeply frustrated by the limits of his time. He surveyed the scene, noticing what most would miss: a dusty cash box, smudged glass, and something odd on the shop's counter. A fingerprint. It wasn't clear, it wasn't dramatic, just a faint impression left on a freshly painted surface. A smudge, but one with ridges, curves, identity. Inspector Collins paused. Before this moment, fingerprints were barely used. They weren't considered crucial evidence, more like a curious mark of the human body. But Collins remembered something, a book he'd read on the uniqueness of fingerprints. A radical concept then, but one with enormous potential. He ordered the surface to be preserved, and that single decision would open the door to the modern age of forensic science. Investigation. Back at Scotland Yard, a young officer named Henry Singleton had recently been assigned to the Fingerprint Bureau, a new experimental division, one not entirely trusted by traditionalists in the force. Singleton was a believer. He understood that every human had a unique fingerprint, that no two prints were the same, not even among identical twins. And he was willing to prove it. The print recovered from the shop was lifted, carefully dusted, and examined. It matched none in the existing database of known criminals, so the investigators expanded their search. They interviewed locals, cross-referenced suspects. Then, they found a break. Two brothers, Alfred and Albert Stratton, known petty criminals, had been seen near the area the day before. Suspicious, but not conclusive. They'd never been arrested for theft or violence. Still, the police requested fingerprint samples. Albert Stratton complied without hesitation. Alfred resisted. He eventually agreed, reluctantly. Back in the lab, Henry Singleton placed Alfred's print on a table next to the one from the shop counter. He looked closely. The arches matched. The whorls. The bends. Identical. Nobody had done this before. No one in history had definitively linked a fingerprint to a crime. But there it was. The match was undeniable. And so began the world's first conviction for murder based solely on fingerprint evidence. Aftermath. During the trial, the courtroom was silent as Singleton took the stand. The jury watched as he explained the science, the method, the certainty of his findings. Many struggled to believe it. Others were mesmerized. The defense argued that fingerprints were unreliable, that this was guesswork disguised as science. But the evidence was unshakable. The jury found both Stratton brothers guilty. They were sentenced to death. And that verdict, built not on witness testimony nor confession, but on physical imprint alone, sent a shockwave through the justice system. The Stratton case was more than a conviction. It was proof. Proof that the human body itself could bear witness to crime. That every person left a part of themselves behind. After this case, fingerprint bureaus were established across the UK, then the world. Police forces adopted fingerprinting as standard procedure. Courts accepted it as scientific proof. The modern era of forensic science had arrived, and nothing would be the same. Closure. Today we take forensic evidence for granted. Fingerprints, DNA, blood spatter, ballistics, digital footprints. But before all of that, there was just a dusty counter in a tiny shop, a blot of paint, and a killer's fingertip pressed down just long enough for history to capture. Think about that. The most powerful revolutions don't always begin with explosions or protests. Sometimes they start with a simple impression, invisible to the world, until the right person looks closely enough. And so it goes. Everywhere we go, we leave ourselves behind. Marks on glass, prints on metal, DNA in the air. And while most of us won't ever think twice, someone, somewhere, might be watching. Not through our eyes, but through the traces we leave. Invisible, unforgettable. Proof we were here. And maybe proof of what we've done.